Welcome back to the Unbound Mind and part 2 of the Illusion of Knowing mini course. In part 1, we ripped the mask of the real saboteurs. Cognitive biases, shallow thinking, and false confidence, the stuff that turns smart leaders into headless chickens, firefighting the wrong problems and throwing resources at surface-level fixes. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, hit pause. Watch it first, link below. Otherwise, you'll be treating symptoms without a diagnosis, and that's exactly what we're here to stop. Because now it's time for the antidote, time to fix the how. How do you dismantle illusions and actually think clearly? How do you upgrade your reaction mode to insight-driven action? That's what this session delivers. We are diving into the power of beginner's mind. Strategy as your ultimate illusion dispeller, tools like REBT and root cause analysis, and the critical dance of convergent versus divergent thinking. Because let's be honest, we all love brainstorming, but do we ever close the loop? Plus, I'll tackle your toughest questions head on. So, ready to stop knowing fast and start understanding? Let's get to work.
Unbound Mind, Part 4.
Still with me? Good. If you're still here, you already had. Because this isn't just bad thinking, it's bad business. And here, what's no best practice will ever tell you. Strategy dispels the illusion. Because strategy isn't just liberating, it's profitable. That's why I wrote From Purpose to Profit. And you can access some of its strategic wisdom just there in the comments.
Coming up next,
The Illusion Dispeller.
I don't have time. Our budgets are tight. I had to fix it yesterday. I can't disrupt the process.
I've heard it all the excuses business owners give not to dig deeper or think strategically. What businesses fail to understand? Developing a habit of digging out root causes could make all those dreaded issues irrelevant, because strategy isn't just a plan. And definitely it isn't tactics, regardless of what you may have heard all over the internet. Strategy allows you to put your ducks in a row and teach them to fly, information, and to your tune. Think of it this way. Best practices are quick fixes. They're like sheep scattered across a hillside. Strategy is more of a shepherd dog. It brings direction. It keeps the herd together. It ensures everything gets where it needs to go safely, efficiently, and without drama. But what do most businesses do? They throw money at random tactics whenever the budget is available.
I've got a great idea. Why don't we try this? They said it works. I believe it may help.
Exactly. Patching holes without checking for leaks. Sure, on paper quick fixes look shiny, but in the real world, as we said earlier, they bleed morale, waste resources, and kill opportunities. Strategy is different. It forces us to choose our actions intentionally. Every move ties into growth. And if you're looking for a silver bullet, this will be strategy. That said, even the best strategy falls apart if we don't address the real cause behind most business messes, a decision-maker psychology. We love decisive leaders. But what if decisiveness without doubt is just disaster with a great PR agent?
Unbound Mind.
The Principle of Emptiness.
Once, a professor asked a Zen master about his teachings. As the master spoke, the professor boasted of his understanding of philosophy, interrupting and displaying little interest in the master's words. The Zen master listened patiently and then offered the professor some tea. The master started pouring the tea into the professor's cup, continuing even after the cup was full, causing it to overflow. Alarmed, the professor exclaimed, "Stop! The cup is full! No more will go in." The Zen master smiled. "Like this cup, you are full of opinions. How can I teach you unless you first empty your cup?
Unbound mind.
That's business in a nutshell. We are so busy knowing, there is no space left to understand. You see, often the thing holding your business back isn't a lack of knowledge or effort. You do know and you do work your ass off. It's the illusion of knowing, the assumptions you haven't questioned, the truth you've accepted without proof. The challenge isn't what we don't know, it's what we think we know that just isn't so. Like this professor, we are full of knowledge, but the more we think we know, the less we question. And that's how we stay trapped.
Unbound mind.
The beginner's mind.
So now we know how the mind tricks us into solving the wrong problems in a wrong way. Here is the big question. How do we fix it? Or better yet, how do we learn what we don't even know we don't know? Well, it's not about learning more. It's about learning to unlearn. That means looking at familiar problems with fresh eyes, free from assumptions, free from expectations. This is what Zen calls beginner's mind. Beginner's mind is the foundational idea in Zen Buddhism. It's about showing up like a total novice. It means staying open, curious, not clinging to what you believe is right. Look, if the self isn't permanent and reality keeps shifting, as it does, then bringing rigid thinking to dynamic problems is not just unhelpful, it's counterproductive. It shouldn't come as a surprise that Steve Jobs was studying Zen Buddhism. It wasn't a formal conversion in the traditional sense, but Buddhism influenced his thinking and design aesthetic. Whether he fully embraced the philosophy in leadership and life is questionable. But this video is about thinking, so the argument stays. In his Stanford speech, he said, "Stay hungry, stay foolish, keep searching, don't settle. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking." That mindset, that openness to new ideas and willingness to challenge assumptions is what we often call a beginner's mind. So beginner's mind isn't just for Zen, it builds trillion-dollar companies, and it works. Studies show that using beginner's mind techniques reduces anxiety. It boosts creative problem solving, innovations, and employee satisfaction. It even lifts academic performance by nearly 15%. Why? Because beginner's mind removes the illusion of knowing. To dive deeper into this, I reached out to Koshin Sensei, a Japanese Soto Zen monk, who shared some insight into how beginner's mind was introduced by Suzuki Roshi in his classic Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind book. Trust me, we won't be diving into spirituality. There are way better channels for this. Here, it's all about practical mental training. And in a world where everyone's trying to be the expert, beginner's mind might just be your competitive edge. Koshin Sensei, thank you for joining us. How can we better understand the concept of the beginner's mind?
When you truly embody beginner's mind, there is no shadow of accomplishment within you. The moment we abandon notions of achievement and self-importance, we become authentic beginners. Only then can genuine learning unfold. Beginner's mind is not closed or ignorant. It is utterly empty. It resembles a clear mountain pool, reflecting everything without distortion. As my teacher Suzuki Roshi observed, in the beginner's mind there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind there are few.
And this is exactly what psychology teaches us. And how can someone who has achieved a level of expertise still cultivate and access the beginner's mind?
Knowledge should not be gathered like treasure in a storehouse. Do not dazzle others with your collection of insights. To fully appreciate the nature of things, you must completely forget yourself. Simply receive each moment like lightning that illuminates the vast darkness, with no grasping, with no resistance.
Yeah, I agree. No resistance makes everything so much easier. And could you please say more about the danger of filtering what we want to hear? How can we overcome this tendency?
When listening to another, You must first empty your cup. Usually, instead of listening to others, you hear your own opinion. If it agrees with your opinion, you may accept it, but if it does not, you will reject it, or you may not even really hear it. Set aside all preconceptions and personal viewpoints. Still the inner voice. Listen without judgment, without your own echo. Observe their way, not your reflection. True meaning arises in this silence.
This is so true. It's hard to agree more. And here is the most anticipated question of all, coming straight from our audience. How can we practice beginner's mind?
Ask why again and again. Question all, even the known. Seek fresh eyes and diverse perspectives. Cherish I do not know, for it is fertile ground. Step away. Observe as if for the first time. Ask naive questions. They hold hidden depths. Seek feedback actively. Listen openly. Hear all voices with an open heart. Avoid jumping to conclusions, and be willing to be wrong, for within error lies the seed of wisdom. Cherish each moment, for it offers a new beginning.
Thank you for your time and teachings, Caution Sensei.
Thank you for inviting me, Aaron. It was a pleasure to be of service to your audience.
Unbound mind.
Businesses don't fail because they aren't skilled. They fail because they are oversure. Indulging in surface fixes is like throwing pebbles, or in our case, wasting resources in every direction, and hoping they magically arrange themselves into a road to profitability. But the bigger threat to your business, it isn't ignorance. It's the belief that you've already got it all figured out. That's the real danger, the arrogance of certainty.
Unbound mind.
REBT and RCA.
When the roots aren't deep, every breeze feels like a storm. When the roots are deep, there's no reason to fear the wind.
And here are two systems that will help you do just that.
A farmer and abundant harvests.
A wise farmer, known for his abundant harvests, was asked by his curious neighbor, "How do you manage to grow such a bountiful crop every year?" The farmer invited the neighbor to observe his methods. He showed how he carefully prepared the soil, tended to the crops, and watered them consistently. He took time to remove weeds, rotate his crops, and protect the young plants from harsh sun. The neighbor, observing the farmer's extensive work, asked, "You put in so much effort. Why not just plant more seeds to increase the harvest, instead of all this extra work?" The farmer smiled and responded, "If I simply planted more seeds without considering the soil's health, the crops would not thrive. It's not about adding more seeds. It's about creating the right environment where the seeds can grow strong. If I ignored the underlying causes, like the condition of the soil or the care for the plants, the results would be poor, no matter how many seeds I plant."
So, what stops us from becoming as wise as this farmer? The reasons are in abundance. Biases, effects, heuristics. Yeah, cool words. I'm just pretending I'm smart. No, really, there are quite a few videos in this playlist that explain just that. Reasons aside, let's check on solutions, real solutions. The first one is the Rational Emotive Behaviour Therapy. Don't freak out. We will look at it only conceptually, but I'm sure you'll enjoy opening the Pandora's box.
Coming up next.
Mind Deep Dive.
There's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
Meet Albert Ellis. I'd show you his picture, but copyrights. Modern life, right? Anyway, Ellis, Humanist of the Year 1971. Originally trained as psychoanalyst. And then he got fed up. Then he became disillusioned with its inefficiency and lack of scientific evidence. Who wouldn't? Clients could explain origins of their issues, but they were not getting any better. By the way, the guy was really cool. Well, at least in my world. Bold, cheeky, and sometimes provocative. His word masturbation alone deserves a gold star on the famed boulevard. No, Not that one. But those rigid and absolute beliefs, such as I must succeed, you must treat me fairly, life must be easy. Basically, any thought that has must and should in it is mental masturbation. Ellie stood out from the wine and dine pity party therapy circle. You know the type. You delicate little victim, let's spend 10 years analyzing why you goldfish dying in 3rd grade ruined you. Tell me, how does that make you feel? And here is your tissue. If you enjoy answering this for the 50th time, this psychological genius may not be your cup of tea.
Unbound mind.
Funny enough, Ellis didn't invent all this from scratch. He pulled inspiration from Buddhism and Stoics.
People are disturbed not by things, but by their views of them.
Translation: our thoughts are not facts, but rather temperamental events, and our beliefs about reality, not the reality as such, that screws us up. In other words, we are the cause of our own struggles. To be fair, this isn't about denying the harsh realities of life. It's not intended for situations where external circumstances like violence or serious illness are the primary challenge. Here we talk about our day-to-day mundane struggles, where our thoughts and beliefs can either amplify or reduce our suffering. So while bearing it in mind, let's see how it plays out. Something happens, that something clashes with your beliefs about how it should be. Emotional or behavioral explosion follows. Let's see. Your colleague gives a pitch presentation. You are fuming because it's obvious how a pitch should be done. Everybody knows that, right? You are blaming on your colleague for not getting it. You bring that irritation home and take it out on your partner. You rage blame your dog. Why wouldn't you? Because it was all that idiot's fault who couldn't deliver a proper pitch. Yes, but. A big fat but. Getting annoyed? Your choice. Blaming your colleague? Your choice. Snapping at your partner? Guess what? Also your choice. Not because your colleague failed to get your expectations, but because your rigid beliefs set you up to explode. All our emotional reactions are symptoms. What we hide underneath is the root cause, the belief that drives the show, and that is what needs fixing if you want real change. Oh, and this isn't just philosophical poetry. REBT is backed by science. Just look at the data. It slashes anxiety and depression symptoms nearly in half. Burnout, down. Stress, down. Coping skills and job satisfaction, way up. Even life satisfaction gets a serious upgrade. So yeah, it works, and not just in theory. So next time you're wondering how to re-engage a demotivated team, teaching them, and yourself, a little REBT could be the best decision you ever make. Will it fix everything? No. If the real problem is the leader who shouldn't be leading, no amount of mindset shifts will save that ship. But out of other options on the table, this one actually works.
Unbound mind.
REBT fixes the mental leaks, but what about the mechanical ones? Time to channel your inner toddler and ask why until it hurts, which frankly is the start of any real strategy. And if you're tired of patching cliques with platitudes, there is a strategy toolkit hiding in plain sight. Real tools for real thinkers, for people who are done knowing and ready to start understanding.
Coming up next.
Seeking truth.
It's not that I'm so smart. It's just that I stay with problems longer.
Remember when we talked about beginner's mind, about seeing things with childlike curiosity? Well, what's the most annoying question every kid asks over and over again?
Why? Why do dogs bark? Why don't cats bark? Why do they meow? Why can't I meow? Why are you ignoring me?
Why is the wonder question. It's not just how kids build intelligence, it's how grown-ups build smart businesses. Before doom scrolling kills all the brain cells anyway. More on that charming apocalypse in another video. Asking why is used everywhere as serious. Strategic planning, consumer research, manufacturing, with slight modifications in coaching and therapy, and yes, in root cause analysis. Speaking of which, ever heard of the 5 whys? Sure you have. It's basically the toddler method of genius. You keep asking why until someone's too embarrassed to give another half-baked answer. It started in manufacturing because it's easier to track what broke when it's a machine, not a human ego. But thinking what happens in manufacturing stays in manufacturing is how you rob your business of real growth.
Unbound mind.
SpaceX engineers keep asking why until they hit the laws of physics. NASA used it to unpack the Challenger disaster, and Toyota, they injected it into everything. In 2024, they sold nearly 9 million cars. That's double their closest rival. And when a scandal in Japan blew up, dodgy vehicle testing triggered a 7.7% sales drop in Asia. Did they flinch? No. They asked why, found the busted testing protocols, cleaned house, and started bouncing back by Q1 2025. Think about that. A single testing glitch knocked the king off the hill, and root cause analysis got them back in the game. And this isn't just about fixing what's broken. Toyota uses the 5 whys to dig into what customers really want, like fuel efficiency, hybrids, and all the stuff that makes their lineup weirdly diverse, but still top tier. Bottom line, no matter if it's sales, logistics, finance, operations, every business oops has layers. Every mess is the web of causes, not just the one that screamed the loudest. Root cause analysis is baked into all the systems smart businesses drew over. Lean, Six Sigma, the lot. It's not just for factories, it's for anyone who is tired of playing whack-a-mole with the same damn problems, and the only thing worse than fixing the wrong problem, not fixing it until it costs you 10 times more. Speaking of that, in software development, there is the 1-10-100 rule. Basically, it says, the earlier you fix the real problem, the easier it's going to be on your budget. 1 quid to fix a bug during design, 10 quid to fix it during coding, 50 to 100 to fix it during system testing and integration, hundreds to thousands to fix it after release. In other words, if you don't dig into root causes now, you'll pay exponentially later. If you only fix symptoms, your problems will come back stronger and hungrier, and they're gonna bite you in all the wrong places. Asking why is cheap. Assuming you already know, that expensive. Root cause analysis isn't optional anymore. It's survival. And 5 whys, they're just one tool. Different problems, different weapons. Chasing speed, drowning in complexity, fighting safety or engineering fires, there is a tool for that. Running a blame-free business, you unicorn, or allergic to premortems, don't worry. There is a tool for that too.
Unbound mind.
As said, different problems need different weapons. You don't bring a rubber duck to a gunfight. Choose smarter, dig deeper, because every shortcut you take today is a bomb you are planting under tomorrow's foundation. So, may your whys be relentless, your masturbation minimal, and your root causes exposed.
Unbound mind.
It's time to introduce yet another helpful tool to your portfolio: convergent versus divergent thinking.
The fountain flow.
Convergent thinking is like the base of a fountain. All the water collects in one place, similar to us gathering clarity and focus. Divergent thinking is like the spray shooting upward. It starts from one central point, one problem, and bursts out in all directions. Each arc is like a new idea, angle, or perspective. It's the process of exploring and deconstructing the problem. What are all possible ways to frame the situation? What assumptions am I making? What are the hidden constraints? Think of it like this. You are not looking for the answer, you are looking for the right question. But the spray doesn't bust. The water returns, falling back into the fountain's basin. Ideas fall back down, gather, settle. That's convergence again. You need to evaluate the options, make tough choices, and align your actions with your strategy, assuming you have one. That's how real thinking works. From chaos to focus and clarity, it's the process, not a straight one, but a cycle. Outward to explore, inward to decide, and forward to act.
Unbound mind.
Let's say your customer churn is rising. You've tried discounts, loyalty programs, targeted ads. Nothing sticks. Why? Because you're applying convergent thinking, trying to optimize a flawed system before you even tried to understand the system itself. Divergent thinking is about widening that funnel. It's about asking, what are all the possible reasons for the churn? Could it be a fundamental mismatch between our product, our brand, and our target market? Could it be a hidden flaw in our onboarding process? Could it be that our competitors are offering something we aren't even considering? Are we even targeting the right customers? Don't just brainstorm, deconstruct. Now, let's say you've explored all these possibilities. You've identified 3 potential root causes: a confusing user interface, a lack of personalized support, and a growing perception that your product is overpriced. That's where convergent thinking kicks in. You need to evaluate those options. You need to focus. Which one is the most likely culprit? Which one is the most impactful? Which one is the most feasible to address? This isn't about choosing the best idea, it's about making a strategic choice, prioritizing your actions, and focusing your resources.
Unbound mind.
This constant back and forth is a relentless pursuit of clarity and is the antidote to the illusion of knowing. If this hits home and you're tired of throwing smart solutions and stupid problems, check the Illusion of Knowing playlist for more unorthodox insights. And if you're ready to level up it even further, grab your strategy toolkit. That's waiting.
Mystery of the Vanishing Sales.
Meet Innovate, a leader in smart home gadgets. Their flagship product was a market leader. Then suddenly, sales started dipping. Not a crash, but a slow, steady bleed. The initial reactions were scattered. Marketing blames sales, sales blame R&D, R&D blames marketing. Well, you know how it goes. Everyone had an opinion, superficial, defensive, and profoundly useless. The appointed project manager had to clean up the mess. First move, you guessed it, convergent thinking. They pulled the data, everything they could get their hands on. Sales by region, segment, channel, time, support tickets, site traffic, churn, campaign results, competitor moves, nothing off the table. Then came the bloodhound phase. They didn't just glance at numbers, they hunted. The drop wasn't global, it was local, northeast, sharpest decline. And it wasn't old customers, it was fresh ones, those acquired in the last 6 months. Now they had something real. Why are new customers in the Northeast returning devices? No finger pointing, no gut feelings, no authority bark, just a clean, focused problem worth solving. To get to the why, they had to shift gears. Enter divergent thinking. Set the rules. No idea is silly, no opinion is bad. Build on others' thoughts. aim for quantity, drop judgment. Then they let loose. 30 plus possibilities flew in. Messy, but useful. Now, time to converge again. Testing, validating, slashing dead ends. And there it was. The root cause. A technical glitch with one internet provider in that one region. Existing users hacked their way around it. New users just returned the product. Problem solved. Not by wasting millions, not by guessing, not by blaming a cruel twist of fate, by thinking the right way in the right order.
Unbound mind.
The fragile art of divergence.
Divergence is fragile. It only blossoms in the soil free from the arrogance of certainty, the loudest voice in the room, fear of looking stupid, the slow suffocation of groupthink, and authority pressure. It needs space, it needs air, humility. But let's be honest, most brainstorming sessions end up looking less like this and more like,
"That's not how we do things here. This is a stupid idea. We don't have time for this. Move on. I've already decided."
Real creativity demands freedom, trust, and enough safety to be wrong without punishment. Without it, it's not divergence, it's not creativity, it's not brainstorming. The same old meeting, the same loud opinion, the same silence from the people who actually think but can't be bothered to speak up. How do I know? I used to be one of them. Your voice matters as long as it's politically correct. It's just performance, hypocrisy presented as problem solving. Besides, often a complete waste of time just waiting for the big guys to have enough listening to their own voices.
Deeper into divergence.
And while brainstorming can be a useful tool for divergent thinking, it's not the only tool. Let's explore some other ways to expand your thinking. I'm not going to delve into 5 whys and assumption busting techniques. You can learn about them in the playlist. Today, I will briefly introduce you to the Scamper, worst possible idea, and 6 thinking hats. The first one is Scamper. Scamper is a checklist that prompts you to think about your product or service in new ways. Can you substitute a key ingredient? Can you combine it with something else? Can you adapt it to a new market? It's a great way to spark creative ideas. And Scamper isn't just a creativity tool. It's a powerful technique for strategic innovation. In fact, it's closely aligned with the principles of blue ocean strategy, creating new market spaces by offering unprecedented value. Then comes the worst possible idea. It's about generating the worst possible solutions. Yeah, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a great way to break free from conventional thinking. Assuming your team is struggling with low morale and disengagement due to a high-pressure project deadline. What are the absolute worst possible ways to address this issue? Micromanage every task, ignore the team complaints, cancel all breaks to push harder. Such absurd ideas free participants from the fear of being wrong. They highlight flawed approaches and generate insights about what not to do. By the way, the worst possible scenario is one of the often used exercises in coaching and therapy too. And the final one is 6 thinking hats. This is a structured approach to problem solving. Each hat represents a different perspective. By consciously switching hats, participants can explore the problem from all angles, such as objective data and feelings, challenges and risks, opportunities and innovations, and finishing the session with summarizing the next step and defining the action plan. Now, tools aside, let's zoom out. Divergent thinking thrives when you're willing to challenge not just ideas, but frames. It's about expanding your perspective and breaking free from mental traps. One of the biggest is the problem blind spot. This is when we disregard certain aspects of a problem after focusing on it for too long. That's why it's so crucial to step back, challenge your assumptions, and explore alternative viewpoints. Divergent thinking also helps us reach into the adjacent possible, the range of ideas that are just beyond our current understanding. And paradoxically, constraints can actually fuel divergent thinking, forcing us to be more creative. Think of it like a puzzle. The more constraints you have, the more ingenious your solution needs to be. Look, this isn't a magic bullet. No tool is, but it will give you a fighting chance to see beyond the superficial, to challenge the status quo, and to solve the real problems that actually matter. And frankly, in the world drowning in noise and misinformation, that's a pretty valuable skill, don't you think?
Part 5.
Your questions answered.
Can beginner's mind work in high-pressure environments?
Sure, but let's make it clear. Beginner's mind isn't dependent on environment. If we stay away from mindfulness and spirituality just for the sake of a rational conversation, beginner's mind is more of a mindset, an attitude of openness, curiosity, and letting go of what you think you know. By the way, the preconceptions beginner's mind challenges, they are not far from deep-rooted beliefs or the assumptions we will talk about later. So if you got a team that can handle a toddler in the room, someone asking why to everything, it would be the first step in the right direction. To make it easier, I suggest bringing a simple questions checklist to your meetings. If we knew nothing about the situation, what would we observe? What are the absolute basic facts here, stripped of our interpretations? Are we assuming something that is no longer true? What's one unconventional thing we haven't considered? Who could offer a completely fresh perspective? Or using what-if scenarios. What if we tried the opposite? You can also bring in an outsider, someone not caught in team biases, to play off the toddler. This mix of naive and detached is super powerful. By the way, you can find these questions as prompts in the comments. You're welcome. But with all said above, the biggest threat to beginner's mind isn't the environment, but ego. The bigger the ego, the longer resistance. Add cognitive load, time pressure, stress, fear, and mistrust, and you'll create a powerful barrier to making calm and open observations. So once again, you, the leader, go first. If beginner's mind isn't welcome at the top, it sure as hell won't survive in the rest of the company. I know I sound like a broken record, but hey, the fish rots from the head. This is exactly why the Unbound Mind channel exists, to help ethical business owners be better leaders.
Unbound Mind.
How do I avoid herd mentality when everyone around me follows trends?
You know, early in life when I realized that I didn't want to fit the common narrative, I developed a habit of questioning every rule that didn't resonate with me. So I'd ask, who said so? Followed quickly by, and so what? Two simple questions that kept me grounded and helped me stay true to myself. That said, this only works when you're psychologically ready to have courage to be different, not be liked by everyone, to walk alone when needed, and to tolerate discomfort without crumbling. Going against the crowd takes guts, and you've got a choice to make. Do you stay true to yourself, knowing it might cost you some comfort and approval? Or do you follow the herd and risk living a fake life that looks great outside but feels hollow inside? Either way, discomfort is guaranteed. But the difference is this. If you choose your own way, the discomfort is external. You'll clash with the system, stand out, challenge norms. But internally, you'll have peace. If you follow the rules, the discomfort becomes internal. You blend in, sure, but deep down, you'll feel the friction of being out of alignment. You own the choice and you own the consequences that come with it. Now, that's on the personal level. But when it comes to business, the stakes are different, and thankfully, there are practical ways to avoid blind trend following. Personally, I always come back to the same few principles. First, beginner's mind. I know, same old, but there is a method to my madness. Don't just assume the crowd knows best. Ask questions, challenge assumptions, evaluate evidence, use logic over popularity, especially now when critical thinking is basically on life support. But questioning only works when you know what you are talking about. So, do your homework. If you want a starting point, old school HBR, especially on strategy and consumer understanding. Reports from top consultancies and inside agencies. And most importantly, direct conversations with your employees, customers, or business partners. Their feedback is invaluable if they trust you. Don't just learn more of the same from the same person. That's lazy and often useless. Because you risk adopting someone else's thinking instead of developing your own. Expose yourself to completely unrelated fields and ideas. Learn from different people or sources. Yes, it takes time, but it pays off. That's how you start connecting the dots yourself, and that's how independent thinking is born. By the way, thinking for yourself is yet another piece of freedom puzzle. The first one was about making and owning your choices. Now it's about thinking for yourself. Another unpleasant but useful option: surround yourself with people who disagree with you. Read critiques, play devil's advocate, or better, ask someone else to do it for you. If you want a real challenge, explain your problem to your child or your grandma. Expect them to ask you questions about it. Yeah, it might be mildly annoying, but it'll force you to break out of the "it's obvious" dead end. Also, add some friction to your decisions. We discussed it earlier when we talked about overconfidence. Delay, pause, question your own certainty. Cool off before committing to something just because everyone else is doing it. Give it time. Many trends are just thoughts. And look, if you're running a business without strategy, everything will look like a good idea. Trends will tempt you, advice will confuse you. But with strategy, you've got a filter. You can say, nice idea, doesn't fit, moving on. And yes, your values are part of the strategy, so every decision should reflect them. Honestly, I should have started there. Strategy is the foundation of any business. And finally, subscribe to this channel. It's not a favor to me, it's a necessity for you. If your goal is to be the best leader you can ever be, this is where we dismantle illusion, sharpen your thinking, and help you lead on your terms with clarity and conviction.
Unbound mind.
How do I start questioning my assumptions without slowing down my business?
Well, first thing first. If your team doesn't feel safe, they won't challenge a single thing. No one questions the status quo when their job feels at risk. So before you poke at any assumptions, create psychological safety. And please, it has nothing to do with HR, but it has everything to do with you. So, safety first, creativity second. Then, not every assumption deserves airtime. You don't need a team therapy session over every decision. Use the 80-20 rule. About 80% of the impact, good or bad, comes from 20% of your blind spots. Focus on the high-stakes beliefs. Those are typically strategic. They can tank your business if they're wrong. Use something simple like Pareto or impact uncertainty metrics. They help you cut through the noise and spot the assumptions that matter most. One thing to bear in mind: you must identify gaps in knowledge or root causes. Throwing in assumptions for the exercise's sake is actually a waste of time, and it will indeed slow your business down. Third, integrate questioning into existing processes and daily workflows. turn them into a habit. For example, during strategy reviews, what would have to be true for this to fail? For project kickoffs, what assumptions are we making about resources, customers, or market response? During postmortems, what did we assume that turned out to be dead wrong? What can we learn? Or while making decisions, what are we assuming here, and what if the opposite were true? What are the top 3 assumptions we're resting this on? What if they're wrong? These questions is a good place for you to start. You'll also find them in the comments below, and yes, you're welcome. Fourth, if everyone in the room thinks the same way, you are not questioning anything. You are just echoing. Bring in different perspectives. Better yet, assign 2 rotating roles in key meetings. Devil's advocate, to challenge the logic with skepticism and point out risks, and a toddler, to challenge them with curiosity until you hit the root. By the way, having a toddler in your meeting is gold to cut through corporate BS. Normalize dissent and curiosity. Those 2 are your best allies in strategic thinking. Both should be standard, not scary. And finally, if you've got the budget, hire a strategist. If you find one, sadly, there's species on the red list. A strategist who knows how to properly test and track assumptions, to then turn them into strategies. A good strategist tracks reality versus belief like it's their job, because it is.
Unbound mind.
How does REBT differ from CBT and other mindset tools for team culture?
Honestly, this could be a full video on itself, but I'll keep it focused. Well, I'll try. And let's be clear, this is a biased answer. I personally favor REBT over CBT in this kind of setting, and in general. REBT is more foundational. It's backed by research and shifts your worldview by challenging deep, often subconscious beliefs that drive your emotional reactions. Like, I must be perfect. Remember masturbation we talked about in the main video? So it helps you remove musts and shoulds from how you see yourself, others, and the world. CBT is also backed by research, and it's highly structured. Honestly, I am a structured person beyond imagination, but even for me, CBT is overkill. It targets distorted thoughts tied to specific events. It's brilliant for interventions like managing anxiety before a pitch or tackling imposter concerns. But thoughts stem from deep beliefs. So standard CBT often stays at the surface. Deeper work, although possible, is less common. For example, you can challenge an imposter thought with CBT and feel better for a while. But if the underlying belief that created the thought, like I must be perfect, isn't addressed, it'll likely creep back. Besides, REBT is also strong as self-acceptance, helping you value yourself regardless of outcomes. Gold to nurture your self-worth. And this can bring more long-term benefits too. So for improving team morale, mindset, and long-term productivity, not just one-off fixes, REBT targeting belief systems like I must succeed or my colleagues must understand me suits those seeking deeper change. Compared to another popular tool, standard business coaching, it's a different league. Coaching often sticks to the surface. Set goals, reframe a bit, build new habits. It works, but it rarely touches those ingrained beliefs that drive emotions. This is why coaches often act as accountability partners to ensure you don't slip back into old patterns. And as for corporate trainings, honestly, I don't think they even belong in this conversation. From my experience, they're far more superficial and rarely target an individual behind their skills. Personally, and it shouldn't come as a surprise, I believe real change starts with addressing the root cause. Changing your worldview, or even deeper, your self-concept. That's why I use REBT. Mindfulness and other tools help sustain that change over time. As for other mindset tools, And there are plenty. I might make a full video on those I actually use in my practice. To start with, I also love ACT, but its methodology can be hard to apply without individual therapeutic space. That said, it's invaluable when working with leadership psychology, where depth, identity, and values play a huge role.
Unbound mind.
How do I implement 5 whys in a team that's resistant to change?
Easy, you don't. At least not until you figure out why your team is resistant in the first place and actually deal with it. Sorry, I can't offer a better answer. And to give you a hint, here are a few usual suspects behind resistance. A real or perceived psychological threat, attacks on competence or identity, cognitive overload, aka too much pressure, not enough capacity, cultural rigidity, hierarchical, risk-averse, authoritative, and permission-seeking environments. No tool, no method, no workshop will work on a foundation of fear, fatigue, or distrust. And let's be honest, all the above usually come from leadership, so sort that out first. And as a piece of goodwill advice, to sort it out, use 5 whys. That's the secret.
Unbound mind.
So that's it, guys, for the illusion of knowing. Next up, we are gut-checking another toxic trend, short-termism, the illusions of quick wins. Or, if I put bluntly, why your so-called profitable decisions might be quietly bankrupting your future. It's big, and it's ugly, and you really don't want to miss it. So, I'll see you there.